Hi, I'm David and this is Ollie, and today we're taking a look at the newest camera from Canon, the R1. So tell me, Ollie, what are you most excited about the R1?
Honestly, having used it today, the most exciting for me is the next generation deep learning autofocus. You've got eye detection, you've got subject detection, you've got subject recognition. It's all singing, all dancing, an absolute tank. And we're going to run through all the features that makes this camera so special in this video.
All right, so first off, let's start with the build. Now, looking at the build, I do find it's a very sort of big camera that we're dealing with here, but it's also very easy to sort of move around and navigate with.
Yeah, although it is big, it doesn't feel as heavy as you'd imagine. I'm straight away drawn to this second addition to the joystick. I love a joystick on cameras, and now you can shoot landscape and portrait. All the controls are right where the thumb is on either or. So you are straight away, you're not going to get lost, you're not trying to find things. It's so intuitive, it's ergonomic, absolutely perfect.
Another thing I do really like as well is it does have a full HDMI port. So I really do hate micro HDMI ports, and who really has those nowadays?
It just gives you full stability. You can trust it. It's not going to break on you. It's rugged. I mean, it's an absolute tank.
Yeah, but even then saying it's an absolute tank, it doesn't feel that heavy in my...
It doesn't feel nearly as heavy as it looks. It's comfortable. It's very comfortable.
Yeah.
You can trust it. It's all weather sealed. That's the thing. You can trust it in any weather, in any condition, for any job. This is going to be something you can rely on every time.
And the electronic viewfinder is absolutely amazing.
It's
massive.
huge.
Yeah, it's
like
massive.
you can get a TV inside there. Inside this viewfinder, you've got 9.7 million dots.
Yeah, it's something else I like about it is it also does have eye tracking autofocus. So I can actually put my eye up to it, and depending on where this eye is looking, the autofocus in this camera will actually lock onto that subject. So that's really good. I do have to register to this camera, but it is really cool having that sort of feature. It's so useful.
So once you've registered your eye as the user for the camera, that's very important to do first. Where you look, the camera will focus. So for example, this is going to be really applicable for wedding photographers, especially when you're looking through the viewfinder. You can say subject A is the bride, subject B is the groom.
Yeah.
You look at the bride, you look at the groom, it focuses where you look. It's going to take away any thinking for you. It's going to really be something you can rely on every time.
And I know a lot of photographers do prefer to look through the EVF, so it's nice to actually...
Me personally.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
You'll never see me looking at a screen. It's just not, I don't feel it reliable. I don't depend on it. I have to be inside the viewfinder, so having that there is incredible.
Yeah. Let's talk about the image quality now. So in terms of the video, we're dealing with 6K at 60p raw, chroma subsampling, 422, 10-bit. That's
Canon raw light,
yeah, Canon raw light. It's just it's Canon, so you do have some great colors there, some great video quality. I'm happy that it does have that video quality, but it's really good that it's going up to 6K and just having that option to sort of crop in a bit, all that detail. It also has log 2 and log 3, which is fantastic as well. Having those options, I don't think a lot of previous cameras had both log options. Usually you'd have log 3, but now that I have log 2 and 3, if I say I want to shoot in darker situations, I can sort of move to log 2 where I have more of that detail in the shadows.
Right.
So yeah,
I feel photographers tend now to be more into, they need to be a hybrid shooter.
Yeah.
You need to have video in a camera, and it's becoming more and more of a necessity in all cameras. So it's amazing to have a camera that's really designed for stills, be able to have those video capabilities. So you can use this as a video camera, like you said, and it's still incredibly powerful.
And it has dual shooting, doesn't it?
So yeah, so let's say for example you're shooting a video and you need a still during that video, you can shoot stills. There's no interruption to the video. You've got 24 megapixel stills coming out of the camera during video.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane, the number of sort of hybrid features it does actually have in it. That just makes it so much easier. And another thing I would like to note about the video is shooting in log, it's obviously going to look very washed out and flat, but you do have internal LUTs inside the camera, so it does applies an automatic color grade, which is going to be good for me in terms of working with a client. If you still want to shoot in log, it's good to have those LUTs, because then your client can look at an image and go, oh, that looks great, as opposed to what it's initially going to look like, which is
the other thing as well is obviously if you're shooting log or in a heavier codec, you can actually shoot proxies. It means you can edit on a laptop, on the fly, very quickly, and have something deliverable much quicker than if you, say, had to use the actual raw footage.
Yeah, because like 6K, honestly, I've shot at 4K and edited stuff on 4K, and it's an absolute nightmare. So that proxy recording is so...
It's a game changer, honestly.
Like everything in this camera, in all honesty, it's just so much of it has like saves you time in post-production. It does so much of it inside the camera, and that's really good, especially again, if you're doing wedding photography or videography, you want to like minimize that post-production because sometimes you need to turn around something quite quickly.
I know a lot of videographers at weddings now will give the same day edit.
Yeah.
It's basically a highlights reel of the wedding day on the same day to play at the ceremony. The reception. It's something that's very important. People do use it, they do need it, and it is there for you to use.
Another thing that's also worth mentioning is, it shoots 24 megapixels, which is great, but it can actually upscale to 96 megapixels in the camera.
It can, yeah. So let's say, for example, you've got something in a scene relatively small.
Yeah.
You can crop in and then upscale it, so you're not losing any quality. Or if you are shooting landscapes and you want to print it, you can then shoot the landscape, upscale to 96 megapixel, and you've got a high resolution image there, all the detail. Yeah,
and it's all in camera, and it doesn't really even take that long. Like,
it doesn't take long at all.
Like a few seconds of like processing the image, and then it's there. It's just like a beautiful image, and it's just like a great camera. It just gets so many good images. It does so much inside the camera on its own, and that's just great. And it's just like, again, I do like when a camera helps you minimize that post-production. So,
of course,
so
you can focus on shooting. I don't know many photographers that enjoy the editing process more than shooting. So anything we can do that helps photographers get that is something positive.
In terms of photos, we also have 40 frames per second of continuous shooting. Like, how valuable is that to you on all?
Well, you're just never going to miss a shot.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's cheating. It's cheating.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't like the word cheating because it feels bad. Like, there's still a lot of skill involved, but you can't miss. You cannot miss now.
Yeah.
I mean, what sports photographers, they're really going to benefit from this. If you say, for example, you need the ball on a touchline at that specific moment, or let's say, for example, on a catch.
Yeah.
Any frames between there, you might miss it, but you can't miss with 40 frames per second.
So how is it able to shoot at 40 frames per second?
Well, the body's actually got two processors, the digiX and the digic accelerator, which is what gives it the ability to do these speeds. Like I said, the 40 frames per second. Okay,
so speaking of like automated features, this is probably the biggest automated feature in the R1, and that's the autofocus.
Yeah, I personally think it's one of the most exciting things about these new cameras is the next generation deep learning autofocus. It's nothing short of magic, really. It takes away any of the guesswork, you just don't have to think. Yeah. It does the job for you. It's something you can rely on. It's incredible.
I honestly, learning about it, it's like, I don't think I've seen autofocus like this in the camera before. Yeah. It's like just incredibly efficient.
Correct. And deep learning autofocus isn't something you see on a spec sheet necessarily. And it's kind of like, oh, what is that,
Yeah, it's probably why we didn't hear any rumors about it.
Exactly. And just a brief explanation on it is Canon has fed the camera, essentially, information that it can use to intelligently
pick up on subjects.
Exactly. So, for example, if you're facial recognition, you can take a picture of a subject, set in camera the person's face, up to 10 people, 10 subjects, and it will prioritize those within a crowd of people. Where this is going to be really handy is in weddings. So, for example, you've got two quite important people at a wedding, bride and groom. Yeah. You can set bride as number 1, groom as number 2, all day long because it sets in the camera's internal memory. You can change cards all day long, and all day long, your bride and groom will be the absolute highlight of the album, even in a scene. And
I've seen that in other cameras, but it is nice to know that you have that face registration feature in this camera. Like, it's this new camera.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's like, another thing I like about the face registration is you don't necessarily have to awkwardly go up to the person and go, oh, can I take a photo of you? You can actually take a photo of them from a distance and register that way. So if you say shooting politicians, you don't have to go up to them and register.
Correct. Well, photojournalists, you could literally feed the image that you want to shoot on wherever event you're going, and then the camera's going to look after you. That's kind of the best way I can put it. You're looked after with this camera.
Yeah, and that autofocus, this is like another thing that I thought was really cool about this autofocus, and it's the action priority mode in it, which is really absolutely insane. Tell me about that.
So action tracking or action priority, like you said, is, let's say, for example, you're a sports photographer which this camera obviously with the 40 frames per second is going to be highly attractive. The action tracking, it will identify player behavior. So for example, if you've got one player kicking a ball in soccer to another player, it identifies that, it recognizes the action of the player, and it will focus on the player that's about to receive the ball. So it will identify the kick, and it will track
it'll actually track with, it will figure out where the ball.
It'll figure out where the ball's going to go, and it will focus on that player where the ball is going. So it's I mean, nothing short of magic again.
Yeah, and it even like detects like player behavior. So it's not even just the ball that it's going to pick up on.
The whole scene, everything in the scene, it's constantly working intelligently to identify key areas and focus where it believes you need it to be.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Again, I'm going to say it's cheating, but like, I don't care. It's getting me the...
Yeah, I mean, man, yeah.
It gets you the shot.
Yeah, exactly. And when there's a well, not famous, but there's something I read in National Geographic photographers, and they can't print excuses. Have you had this?
No, but that's a good point.
So yeah, it's like we print pictures, not excuses. Yeah. And this camera is something that eliminates that. Yeah. You know, it's something that you turn up, you can deliver every single time, and you're looked after. Yeah,
it's an amazing sort of camera with that autofocus and all that. And that really, to me, is the coolest thing about this camera, is just that autofocus. And like, honestly, I have used some Canon cameras in the past, and like, it's just leaps and bounds in terms of autofocus in comparison to those cameras. It's just like so much more intelligent. It's leaps and bounds a lot above a lot of other cameras. It's just this amazing autofocus. I'm just really happy that Canon has stepped up so much with it. It's just absolutely beautiful. I love this autofocus.
It is beautiful, like you said.
So like the R1 is like very similar to the R5 II in a lot of features, a lot of great features, but the R1 actually has a very different type of autofocus in that it's got cross-type autofocus. What is that?
Cross-type focus is completely unique to this camera. Most cameras will do vertical readout, whereas this will actually do vertical and horizontal readout, which basically gives twice the information to focus on for the camera's reference.
Yeah, and I imagine that's going to be useful, especially if you say doing sports, or like say you're in a swimming pool, like swimmers or whatever. You've got a lot of these lines sort of crossing over, and like it's going to be very hard for it sometimes to like get that autofocus locked on. So I imagine that cross-type autofocus, it's just going to help out a huge.
Correct. So that cross-type autofocus is on each pixel. So you can imagine how much detail is in there. It's got so much reference.
All impressions, it's like amazing video quality, amazing, like absolutely astounding autofocus in all honesty. Yes. Great photo functionality. It's like really fast camera. What's your impressions of this camera?
Honestly, I'm kind of blown away. There's a lot of things in this camera that are essentially magic, you know, incredible. It's all singing, all dancing. It's something that you can rely on and guarantee to deliver every single time.
So that was me and Ollie on the Canon R1. A lot of things to be excited about in this camera, and a lot of things to be excited about in the R5 II. Be sure to check out a review on that camera as well. But let us know what you're most excited about in the R1 in the comments below.